But a few weeks ago, Mr. Rowley, you posed in the Derbyshire Times, that big socialist newspaper, and you were stood at Marsh Lane, alongside a notice which says that fracking had ceased.
Yeah.
A sort of a moratorium by the government. And you went on to say, and quite rightly you've got every right to, that was because you stood up in Parliament, introduced a 10-minute bill, and how they were going to stop fracking once and for all. The words had not got out your mouth before there was an earthquake near Blackpool, and they had to stop it. Now then, what we've heard since from your Lord and Master Boris is that fracking, if you get elected, unfortunately you're going to be unemployed, but if they get elected, then they're going to let fracking start again. So what are you going to do about it?
So where have they said that, sir? Where have they said it? Where did Boris say he was going to let fracking start again? Because he hasn't said it. So I'm
Tory party, not me.
I'm interested where you've heard
They
it.
made it clear that should they win the election, it will be reintroduced.
No, they didn't. And that's the reason I asked you a question. In fact, that's just completely not correct. So let me work through. It's just wrong, I'm afraid. So let me work through what has happened. I gave the residents of North East Derbyshire a promise in 2017 that I would fight the proposed exploratory drilling and fracking in Marsh Lane. I have consistently done that over the last 2.5 years, and I have fought 2 by 2, piece by piece, step by step, down in London to try and change the policy of this government on fracking. And 2.5 years ago, the government's policy was avowedly pro-fracking, and it was avowedly to speed up the amount of fracking that was happening all across the country. And now, where we are, as of the 26th of November, is that the government has changed its policy on fracking. There is an immediate and total moratorium on fracking, and that fracking moratorium will not change unless there is compelling scientific evidence that says it can be done safely. And the government, in its written ministerial statement of the 4th of November, said that the recent attempt to frack in Lancashire, which I think is what you're referring to, was completely unacceptable, and the science meant it was not safe. So the government has stopped fracking, and I tell you who has stopped fracking. The people who have stopped fracking are people like you in this room and people in Marsh Lane who have done so much work over the last 3 years to ensure that we have changed the policy of the government. And down in London, I have consistently tried. I've met ministers, I have gone and seen the Prime Minister on multiple occasions, I have spoken to special advisors, I have built a coalition in my party, which I accept was pro-fracking a number of years ago, but now is less pro-fracking. And what people who don't like fracking in this room need to realise is you have to build coalitions on these things. And so what I've tried to do is build the element of the coalition in the Conservative Party, which doesn't like fracking. There wasn't a majority for fracking in the last Parliament. I don't think there'll be a majority for fracking in the next Parliament. And I have continued to fight against fracking, and the government has said there is no more fracking. The moratorium is complete. There will not be a change to that moratorium, and if I am re-elected on the 12th of December, and if there is any change, which I don't expect there to be, I will continue to do what I have done over the past 2.5 years, which is to fight fracking, and I think we've had some good progress. We've changed the policy. So on that basis, I think we've achieved something, and I don't expect it to change, but we'll achieve it again if necessary.
Thank you. I'm conscious of the time, so I am going to allow everyone, the candidates, to respond. There are a number of questions that are currently on the floor as well, which I've seen, but I am going to go back to the candidates first to talk fracking, and then we'll go back to gentleman at the back, gentleman in the blue, and I believe gentleman in the green there as well. So that should cover everyone. So who would like to start with the fracking response first?
The thing with fracking is it's not about whether it's safe. Let's get that right. This is about whether it's actually going to affect the planet. Surely, if we're taking fossil fuels out of the ground, that is only going to contribute towards climate change. We can't be talking about, oh well, if it's a bit safer, we're all right. The planet's not all right if we keep taking fossil fuels out, burning them, making plastics that we can't reuse. Let's get that straight. And what I'd like to know whether Lee would actually vote to ban fracking. I'll sit here in front of you all and tell you if that come in front of me and in Parliament, it'll be banned straight away. I'm not going to say I'm fighting it, it'll be banned. Lee uses terms like oppose and fight, and, you know, as a word with his mates to say, oh, well, I don't quite support it. But will Lee ban fracking? That's what we all want to know in this room, because I would. And the fact that he's using terms like they're less pro-fracking now, surely they're against it, they want it banned. And I think that we need to ban fracking, because climate doesn't stop at borders. It doesn't matter whether it's at Marsh Lane, Artill, in someone's back garden in Tupton. It needs banning across England and Wales and Scotland. It needs banning today, tomorrow, as soon as we can get it done. And that's what I support, and I think we need to put the planet first, not profits of these big corporations like Ineos who are trying to frack everybody's back garden because it suits their own ends. It needs banning tomorrow. So I'd like to know, actually, I'd like to ask Lee a question. Will you ban fracking if you're elected? Will you tell us now?
If fracking needs to be banned, if necessary, I would vote for it. But fracking
what does that mean, though?
needs to be banned because there is a moratorium on it, and fracking isn't happening. Take the wind, Ross. The wind's been achieved. We've stopped fracking in North East Derbyshire, and that is something which we should celebrate. We should celebrate the fact that it's stopped.
Okay, I'm going to pass on to Chris.
Yes, I wonder why a moratorium and why they didn't just ban it.
Well, I can answer that. I can answer that,
I'll
Chris.
finish answering the question, but yeah, I would love to hear that. Because I would like to pull a few things up, because there was a letter sent out to residents with the headline saying Lee Rowley convinces government to stop fracking. I appreciate that in the content of the letter you did mention the campaigners, but the headline was your name, and I think that does a disservice to the amazing anti-fracking campaigners, not just here in North East, but across the entire country. I'd also like to ask about using the parliamentary process, because I've seen you in Westminster Hall debates where you are free from the the hand of the whip there. I've seen you the early day motion which you chose not to sign, although members of my party, Ross's party, Caroline Lucas from Frank's party signed. You didn't sign the early day motion. We've not had full use down there. All-party parliamentary groups are all very well. I mean, I know I've worked supporting an all-party parliamentary group, and it's a good way to get things rolling, but it's not there to change policy. Yeah. And what your government said is it's a moratorium, that's a pause. It's unless and until the science changes. That leaves the door open. And it was the same Saturday that those letters were being delivered and you were making that announcement that Andrea Ledson from your government was on Radio 4 Today programme saying what a huge, when she was asked why not a permanent ban, here and now, she actually says because it's a huge opportunity for the United Kingdom. So the door has not been firmly shut. We need a permanent ban. We need a permanent ban on fracking, and that needs to be a permanent ban for life, and not just a Christmas election.
I think it's really crucial that we look at the history of what has happened with fracking in North East Derbyshire, and how we had a Labour candidate who went on to work for fracking, government lobby, and that was the opportunity for Lee really to change his stance. And he knew that election, he could change his stance from a pro-fracking stance to an anti-fracking stance and get a nice cosy seat in Westminster. And that's what happened. And so we're now in a situation where we have a pause. And that pause, like has been mentioned before, does not sign, seal and deliver for the people of Marsh Lane, for the people of North East Derbyshire who experience fracking. This is so dangerous. The scientists have said it. We have seen how fossil fuels have impacted our planet, and this is something which should have been banned a long time ago. We would fight for an immediate ban of fracking because it's not worth it. It really is not worth it. And to suggest that a moratorium does justice to the problem is a farce, and we need a ban on fossil fuels essentially in the end, and we need to be looking at renewable energies. We need to be looking at the way the world is going and how we're going to adapt. We don't need to be keeping the door open for fracking. This really is sensible, common sense solutions, and we should be looking at them now so that we can be a world leader in renewable energy, and we need to do that now. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Just a couple of points on that. So the answer on the point about ban moratorium's immediate. Stops right there, the day it was announced. A ban would take a number of weeks or months or potentially longer to go through Parliament. So you want to start fracking now? Moratorium stops it now. Bans take time. But I'm happy to explain what I've been doing over the past 2.5 years, and that is trying to change the government's policy. I have put down multiple written questions in Parliament. I have consistently asked verbal questions within Parliament itself. I set up the all-party parliamentary group on the impact of shale gas. I invited experts into Parliament to be able to discuss it. I have brought ministers to that in order so they understand it. I have met with ministers on multiple occasions. I've met with the Prime Minister. I have tried to understand it in more detail. I've gone and represented residents at planning committees. I have fought with a QC in Chesterfield Market Hall on the basis of the appeal. So, you know, if people think this is a convenient way in order for me to quote-unquote win a seat, well, do you know what? It wasn't convenient. And I have had an awful lot of people come to me and say, okay, change your view now you're in. I don't want to change my view because I don't think fracking works for Marsh Lane, and I have become convinced over the past 2.5 years that fracking doesn't work for the country as a whole, and I will continue to do what I have done over the last 2.5 years if I am re-elected, which is to try and protect this area from fracking and to try and change the government's policy. And we've done it, and it's stopped. And if it ever changes again, I will continue to do it, and that's my pledge to you. So, fine, we want to split hairs and we want to split differences, we can do that, and it's what we're doing tonight. But 2.5 years ago, fracking was going to happen in Marsh Lane. 2.5 years later, it's not, and that's thanks to the residents and some of the work that's been done down in Parliament.
Thank you very much.
Just can I just come out with a response to that?
Very quickly, yes.
Well, you say you've done all this hard work, and I don't believe it's any kind of, coincidence that it's been announced that, you are in a marginal seat, yeah. So you're in a marginal seat, your work that you've done in past could get you the vote and win you back as an MP, right? When they reverse that decision, which we all know they're going to do as soon as the election's over, will you stand down?
They're not going to reverse the decision. They're not going to do it. I've spoken to some of these guys. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But do you know the reason for the dates? I didn't want the fracking proposal to go ahead in Lancashire, which has started all of this, which was in July, August. And when the earthquakes happened in July, August, like experts who came to my all-party parliamentary group said would happen, and would happen even higher here if it ever came here. When that happened, the rules kicked in, it stopped. I was very pleased that it stopped, and then the Oil and Gas Authority, the government body, was charged with going and understanding the evidence, and they spent some weeks going and understanding the evidence, and then they delivered their report, and that's where the moratoriums come from.
We are going to put an end to fracking, albeit temporary.